And you're super active, at least, I mean, LinkedIn. It seems like you are probably one of the most cited people on LinkedIn in terms of SEO. Am I incorrect in saying that? But first, a word from our sponsor, Ahrefs. Do you wish you could get more traffic to your website? Half the battle of that is knowing what to fix on your website regarding SEO. You could always hire an SEO consulting firm to do that, but that could be expensive. I've always said, if you could do it in-house, understand SEO, understand what you need to fix, you could probably fix it better than most SEO companies because you know your business, you know your customers, you know your content better than anybody else. What if you get a free SEO audit from an amazing tool set? That is the power of Ahrefs Webmaster Tools. Ahrefs Webmaster Tools gives you the tools and the information you need to go ahead and see a list of things that you could fix on your site immediately. You'll see the keywords you're ranking for, understand how Google sees your content and your site, and discover how making changes to your website could absolutely blow up your traffic in Google search. So check out Ahrefs Webmaster Tools at ahrefs.com/webmaster-tools. And thanks again to Ahrefs for sponsoring.
There's a lot of great creators, but LinkedIn is the platform I publish most on. Yeah, so I've been more active there on Twitter. But yes, I post on LinkedIn 5 times a week, basically, just on like different findings, like search, news about search results, or also just tips I've gathered through the years, like just working in SEO for 10+ years.
Yeah, it's interesting because I post on LinkedIn, but it's just usually like a style of how I tweet, which doesn't go hand in hand. You can't post a tweet on LinkedIn; it just doesn't work. I'm personally super active on Twitter, active on all the platforms, and I engage more on Twitter. LinkedIn, I've been trying, but it's a different environment. I feel like whenever I post on LinkedIn, and not to insult anybody, I feel like a minute later I'm getting inundated with like pitches and like we could both win if we both do this, and you promote me and I promote you, and I'm like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm engaging wrong, I think. I don't know. Or is that LinkedIn? I feel like it's more like
I think that is definitely more and it's a problem on LinkedIn. Yeah, I think LinkedIn is definitely a lot more susceptible to spam. So it's like...
It's not even spam. It's just people trying to make a buck. I think.
Yeah. I think it's a little... I do think it is a little more of... It can be a little more of that sometimes than Twitter. So I think there is some legitimacy there. I mean, like, to be honest, LinkedIn, like the reason that I felt like when I was just starting out pretty early and like posting, I was kind of posting on Twitter and LinkedIn, just experimenting with different things. LinkedIn, I just found my posts would just generally do better. So I just started gravitating more to that platform. And really, like, I do think there's been a little bit, not an entire migration, but I think more SEOs are now starting to use both Twitter and LinkedIn to get their knowledge. So we're seeing a little bit more of that. LinkedIn is a little bit more... It's a lot of the content I'm posting is generally a little bit more long form. I almost view them as like mini blogs. Is probably a good way to put it, where it's like 3 to 4 paragraphs of information. Hey, here's this news item. Here's why it's important to you. Here's this tip, right? Here's why you need to use structured data on category pages, or here's how the New York Times structures their HTML sitemap. I can go into a little bit more depth instead of doing like a long tweet thread. LinkedIn, I just think
your posts tend to do very well on LinkedIn, or at least historically they have.
They definitely tend to do well.
I'm not sure why it tends to, like, I see you a lot. I mean, not recently, but I've seen you a lot. Like, any topic I would write about it, you would write a pretty good LinkedIn blog post related to it or the announcement. And it's just amazing to see the engagement you get in your posts. So congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, one of the experiments we're trying to do is 60-second SEO is what we're calling it, and basically like it's almost inspired by kind of like TikTok, right, where it's a lot of people are going more toward short form content, right, where we see that's kind of a demand of people, right, and like so we've been trying that with the SEO community where it's like, hey. I think one of the hard parts about SEO is like you don't really get to like work over like anyone's shoulder and see like, okay, how do they handle a screaming frog crawl, or if they're taking data from Google Analytics from Screaming Frog and then finding an insight, like how are they doing it? What's their process? Like 60-second SEO, we're trying to do that where it's kind of like almost a behind the scenes look of like what a process might look like in a reasonable amount of time using like more short form content. So that's something else we're testing out on LinkedIn. Is primarily where it's at, but also Twitter as well.
So are you doing this on TikTok at all?
No, not on TikTok. We'll see if the audience is there. We should test that out and see if the audience is there.
It does. TikToks and Instagram, again, no offense to people who are, it's scary. I mean, I remember joining Club. Have you ever joined Clubhouse?
No, I never tried. I saw Clubhouse, but I never tested it too much.
So I was on Clubhouse. I gave it a really good try. It's basically an audio format, whatever. And the content, it's new, I guess, but everybody's just trying to like, I made $1 billion in 3 months doing, and I'm like, oh, this is not for me.
Yeah.
The information people were spewing, not all of it, but a lot of it about specifically SEO was poor.
Yeah.
And people send me these TikToks and sometimes Instagram videos, like Instagram Reels or whatever they are. I'm like, this information is just so bad.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of that surface necessarily on Twitter.
Yeah.
Not as much also on LinkedIn as well. Although what bugs me about LinkedIn a lot is that people will just screenshot what other people are saying, not link to it, not reference who it is. You always reference who it is. And you don't really screenshot it. You just basically summarize stuff. People are literally screenshotting or copying and pasting and posting it as their own.
Right.
And they don't know better. It's just like, oh, this is the Business Social Network. I'm just going to copy an article that I found that I thought was great, and I'll just share it. And then they never really spread the credit as they should. Whereas I feel like on Twitter, people are more likely to credit where things are. I'm not sure if that's just my bias, but I think Twitter is probably one of the more giving and sharing type of networks. So get off LinkedIn and get on the show. But I love your stuff because LinkedIn, the way you share, to me makes it like, oh, this is a place I want to be.
Yeah.
Whereas I see a lot of other people sharing stuff on LinkedIn, it's not always the best. So
yeah, and you just have to know who to. There's a few really great creators on LinkedIn, like Mark Williams Cook. He's with an agency called Candor. He's been doing it for a while. He's a really great follow. So
he's the one who used AI to spam Google, and you saw that case. That was the case study.
Yeah, I believe he just recently did a case study.
He was just testing. He wasn't really spamming. He was just testing.
He did a case study where don't quote me on this, but I believe what he did was he had like a site where he created all AI generated content, and then you would see the traffic like increase like significantly, and then it dropped off. I'm pretty sure that's what he did. I'd have to go back and like check the experiment.
It was good. I kind of want to get him to speak on that at XMX Advanced.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's a challenge to get people to speak about anything these days on SEO, but should be interesting. And then one of the topics you want to talk about is career tips and how you used Facebook ads to get job interviews. So since we're on the LinkedIn path, you would think you would do that with LinkedIn because LinkedIn is like the job platform.
Yeah.
You said, no, I'm using Facebook. Obviously, you try both, but what's with Facebook that makes that even better?
Yeah, I think it was that was early. I was moving to Raleigh at the time. Me and my now wife were long distance, but I knew needed to get a job in Raleigh. I think the reason is I just read an article somewhere. I read two different articles. I read one article about how someone had used Facebook ads for jobs. And I also read a hilarious article about how someone you were able to like target Facebook ads. It's like to the person level. I think he found out a hack where he had a roommate who was like a sword swallower, and he was like literally what he did was he set up like a Facebook ad campaign where he would like send his like roommate really targeted ads about like, hey, if you're sword swallowing, like you need to be careful about these tips. I think his roommate got burned doing it or something at some point, so he like gave him like injury tips about like how to prevent an injury from sword swallowing, and like it really freaked his roommate out. It
sounds like a Marty Weintraub from Aim Clear type of speech, because the first person I ever like heard somebody like, I'm gonna target that one giving a speech. I'm gonna target that one person in this audience at XMX, sitting in this crowd of like 1,000 people, and find you using Facebook ads. Somehow. And obviously now you can't do that with all the GDPR and like, privacy stuff. But it was amazing. This was back when you were able to do anything with Facebook ads.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, Facebook ads are incredibly targeted. That is insane. Like I was really only doing SEO at the time. So my thought process was like, okay, like I'll just like, could I get like job interviews doing this, right? Like, so I think what I did was I set up like, the ad was like ridiculous in hindsight. It was like a picture of my face. I think I tried to like point to my face to like have some type of like, visual cue coming to it. And then it was just about, I think I set up like a domain, hiremeraleigh.com. I just basically like, I targeted people who lived Raleigh, Durham area, and like who liked Moz, SMX, like SEO Roundtable, right? Search Engine Land, like some of the big publications. And then just saw what happened. And like, I didn't get a job from it, but I got like a bunch of calls from it. Like a bunch of people calling me like with interviews saying they liked that, or even people just expressing an appreciation for the ad. Like people thought it was creative. So it was an interesting way to really get job interviews. And like, I guess also kind of the goal was like show I knew wasn't SEO related, but it was like a show I was digitally savvy, right? It's like I can set up a Facebook ad campaign, choose targeting parameters, and like connect with like an audience who I would want to connect with.
Interesting. That's interesting. I use Facebook ads to have hired past programmers for my company. And that worked. We hired probably 2 people off of that. It's hard to hire programmers in general, especially now. Yeah, pretty much for that purpose. Like targeting is really good with Facebook ads, but at least back then. I haven't used it recently. Well, I probably should. I'm getting job applications like crazy now.
Yeah.
The world turned upside down and then turned back upside down. It's insane. Like during like the past 3 years after COVID, or 2.5 years after COVID, everybody was like hiring like crazy, couldn't get people.
Absolutely.
And then literally 6 months ago, and now it's like what, March right now, March 15th, March 15th, March 2023 core update launched today. So you probably won't get this until the next core update comes out, which will probably be in September. But it is so much easier. I mean, I'm getting job applications left and right.
Yeah.
You know, all the layoffs. I think Zurich just laid off a bunch of Googlers today. I think all the Googlers we know in Zurich are safe, as far as I know. And then also, this is a lot of people in the market, and Microsoft layoffs and everything like that. So,
Facebook.
How's business? And people are cutting budgets. You really can't talk about that because of anything.
No, we're still seeing still business is definitely steady. Yeah, so we're seeing like business is definitely still steady overall. So no huge changes there as of now.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about the next topic you want to talk about, which is SEO strategy.
Yep.